Participants entering, I would just guess.
Cool.
Okay, hello, people who are already here. Beautiful, 17 participants, litmus. Okay, hello everyone, welcome to the Future Forward Symposium. Before we begin, I would just like to acknowledge that today we are Zooming and meeting and chatting on stolen lands. I would like to acknowledge that me and Tali and Pavan and BCA is on the land of the Wurundjeri people of the Kulin Nation, and that treaties were never signed, sovereignty was never ceded, and also that it is such an immense privilege to be able to go to drama school, but also make art and live on land that has seen such a rich culture of art and storytelling for over 60,000 years. This always was and it always will be Aboriginal land. Okay, hello, welcome to our little Zoom seminar, webinar. This is called Resilience and Adaptability, which is a fancy term for, oh my God, a virus has taken over the nation. I don't know how to graduate. We are here to tell you that you will be fine and give you some tips and tricks on how to thrive. Today I am joined by Tali Faraday and Pavan Datta. I'll introduce them now in a formal bio setting. So Tali, give us away, Tali, is a 2017 graduate of the VCA. She studied acting there. She's originally from Darwin, where she hosted The Breakfast Show with Tali on Larrakia Radio, which I didn't know, which is sick. Her theatre credits include Astroman with Melbourne Theatre Company, Fallen with She Said Theatre, and Love by the iconic duo Patricia Cornelius and Susie D, which toured to the Venice Biennale. You're a fancy international artist, Tali. Also, she was most recently starring as the lead role of Blackie Brown in Blackie Brown. Tali is a First Nations queer artist and an advocate for representation of minority voices on the main stage. That's Tali, amazing. And we also have Pavan. Pavan is a Melbourne-based TV writer and a graduate of the VCA's Bachelor of Fine Arts Screenwriting. He is, this will blow your mind, the youngest ever person to write on papers. Huge, which is insane. He also contributed jokes to Get Cracking Season 2, which is also iconic, and has a comedy duo double act with Tim Knight, and their show titled This Show Is Our Baby, But You Are Its Parents, debuted at the Adelaide Fringe. Oh, and a little poster.
I just forgot that was there.
That's so good. Self-promo all the way. How did you come up with that title, by the way?
Tim did, so...
It's really iconic. And it's so weird to introduce myself. Should I do it in the third person? No. Lou Wall. I am a multi-award-winning comedian, theatre maker and composer. Some of my solo shows include A Dingo Ate My Baby and It's Not Me, It's Lou, which were at Malthouse Theatre for Comedy Festival. And then Lou Wall's Drag Race, which was at Griffin Theatre for Batch Festival. And currently I am writing a musical called Flat Earthers the Musical, about conspiracy theories through Arts Centre and Griffin Theatre. So I think we should just crack into the questions. Thank you so much to everyone for joining us. I can just see the number. I can't actually see who you are. So hello. If you have any questions for us, you can literally ask us anything as specific as you like. Type them in the chat and we will address them at the end or kind of ongoing. So post all your questions there. Cool. So I just wanted to start by, I guess, talking about, obviously we didn't graduate in a pandemic, but we are living as artists in a pandemic. So I want to kind of go back to pre-pandemic and talk about when you both graduated. I'd love to know what your first month was like after you graduated, or a couple of months, how you kind of got your start, and if you had any misconceptions about the process of graduating. Do you want to start us off, Tali?
Sure. I graduated in 2017, and it's kind of an awkward time because you graduate in November and then it's like holiday season, Christmas time. So I think I actually just spent that time reconnecting with my family back in Darwin and just like having some time to myself. And then I think the next year, 2018, that's when like the industry kind of opens up again as well. So the first 6 weeks was kind of just everything but the industry, really, just having some time to myself. But yeah, it really took off in 2018 and then starting networking and so it was a little bit of a slower burn for the graduating year, but then 2018, like I'm really fortunate that things really took off quite quickly.
Yeah, I think a lot of graduates anticipate, I know I certainly did, it's kind of all go, go, go up until the end, and you kind of expect to keep that momentum as you go off, but it is that lull period.
Yeah.
December, January, when nothing's kind of really happening until pilot season kind of hits in January. I'm curious as to like what was your first kind of break? Did you get an agent straight away? Was it a little harder, or did it kind of flow naturally?
So I graduated from the acting course, and what we have in the course is like we have an agent's day. Mm-hmm. So as you know, because you also graduated from this course, and you have like a showcase and then agents come to you or you come to them. And I was quite fortunate enough to sign with an agency straight away. And I think it was really the networks that I made through VCA that helped me. Like I worked with Melbourne Theatre Company quite quickly after graduating with a lot of the developments that they have there. And also like their outreach programs like Cybec, Electric, or just like stage readings. And then the casting people would see me from there. But they'd also seen all your performances throughout the college as well. And I guess that's how it all started. Like, I think I'm really grateful for Melbourne Theatre Company because that's where I created my visibility.
Yeah, totally. And you have such a reputation as a incredible up-and-coming actress, I think, from that. How about you, Pavan? I'm sure it looked a little different in the screenwriting world.
Yeah, definitely a bit different. I'm definitely just different from any of the other screenwriters as well, because people probably will hate to hear this, but I was like very lucky. I was like very, very lucky at the end of the course because I got offered a job at Neighbours, like pretty much like the week after I graduated, I think, which was like a huge surprise, but really glad to get that.
Had you reached out to them, or did they reach out to you?
The process for that was pretty much just like cold emailing. Like it took a whole year, I think. It took a year to kind of get my foot through the door there. And that just began as like finding an email, cold emailing, getting a rejection, waiting a couple months, cold emailing again, to just try and get a foot through the door, to just come in and shadow or do like a little internship. Like a lot of internships happened in that last year, to try and get, a foot through the door and visibility about who I was to people out there. But then very lucky at the end of the year around December, just got an email out of the blue and was like, hey, do you want to come work here next year in January? And I was like, hell yeah.
Don't mind if I do.
So that's what my post-graduation looked like, which I know is not really what other people's.
I think it's pretty inspiring, to be honest.
But I guess it is.
Cold emailing is such a thing. I was talking to Tali last night about how kind of forward you need to be, especially if people, especially if you're throwing your hook down and no fish are biting. I think a lot of people are, they hesitate and they don't reach out straight away. But I guess for me, when I graduated, I couldn't really find an agent straight away, and I was like, oh my God, like my whole life is falling apart. Like I was like devastated, but it kind of took me, I think it was like a week to be like, okay, just get your shit together and just like reach out. And I had a show that I'd made at VCA, and I cold emailed quite aggressively, now I look back on them, heaps of venues, and I ended up getting to meet with Malthouse, and then I was able to go on there for the comedy festival. But I guess, Tali, what is your technique with emailing? How do you like approach it? What is in the body of the email you send? What is your subject heading?
Hire me. Just my BSB as a subject. I think that like I do a lot of emailing, but I also my other technique, I'll get to the emails in a moment, is actually just like going up to people in the foyer because I feel like I'm a bit more charismatic in person than like my dyslexic email that I've sent someone. So I actually make quite a conscious effort to like just know who is in the art center hub and, you know, who's the artistic director of each company, and like just going to a lot of shows, knowing who the director is and the writer is and who I want to work with. So if I do see them, I can just introduce myself and be like, oh, I've actually got a show coming up. Like, I would love you to come. And those kind of connections people really remember than just like an email address. Not saying that's not also a valid way, but also if you do if you do have work coming up, that's great. And if you can invite people really remember that because it's a bit more sentimental and you're offering them something, you're inviting them into your like artistic practice. So I actually do a lot of emailing through, like, I would work with my agency to be like, okay, can you email these people? Because I've found that if my agent emails people, they respond a lot quicker than if it's just my like gmail.com. But
Totally.
But not to say that they don't reply as well. So every time I do have a show, I give out probably about 10 free tickets to casting directors, and I'll get my agent to send them through. I make the email for them. They just have to send it off. And every time I've gotten an audition the next week, I'm buying auditions, and I am so fine with that. But it's just like, you're funding someone's night out, or you're just like, I really love your work. Do you have a spare 20 minutes for a coffee?
Big time. I think that combining networking and connections with an email, I think following up with that email is super important because it just puts you at the front of their mind, I guess. Okay, we have a question from Sarah Saxon. Whoa. How do you go about getting an agent if in your particular discipline the uni doesn't provide something like an agent's day? So me and Tali can kind of speak to the
acting or for like screenwriting?
Not sure.
For any discipline.
Yeah.
For me, I am a composer and a writer as well as an actor, and I found an agent for that discipline without an agent's day. I actually did just cold email. I did my research and I kind of found out what agency I would like perfectly fit into, and then I emailed about 10 of them and got 10 rejections, and then I did it a month later and included a couple of scripts and a couple of things I'd worked on. I think it's really important for them to see your work, even if it hasn't been put on, even just sending like a 5-page treatment or something, a selection of your best work, especially in a pandemic. If they can't go out and see your work, sending some of your work really helped me to securing an agent. Do you have an agent, Pavan?
Nope, not for writing.
And you find it so fine?
Yeah, it's I've no real experience with the whole agent side of the writing business yet. I imagine it's like incredibly helpful to find more work, but like it's been like easy enough to find work through like like Screen Australia and Film Victoria and those sort of bodies that like help people without representation in film specifically.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think it's a big misconception that you need a agent to work in the industry. I think even when I was first starting, I had an acting agent, but I would say that 95% of all my work was just kind of through my own entrepreneurship and going at it myself. Sarah, I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, I've just got something to add on there.
Oh yeah,
Sarah.
true.
Just because I was a little bit entwined with the dance, like I'm a little bit familiar with the dance course at VCA, having some friends in the course. And I think that it like, even if the uni doesn't give you like what we have as an agent's day, you're more than in your right to actually go out and email the people to your end of year showcases. And they are really high quality, like the third year showcase or your performances, like people are really hungry to see. And if you personally email them instead of the uni, like they're going to remember you. And also like a lot of the dance, like I actually live with a dancer. And a lot of the companies do have like lotteries for free space, like Lucy Guerin or like Temperance Hall. And even if you just did like record some of your dance there and just, or like if you have a show reel or just like some footage, I think it's really helpful. So you can just be like, I really want to network with you, or I really want you to represent me. Here's a body of my work, or here's a performance that I'm in. And I think that's like, just because you're in university doesn't, and then you graduate doesn't mean that the network can't start now.
Yeah,
totally. The next question is, oh yeah, that was about dance. I'm a director, and I write my own performances. Yes, get it. Not sure about an agent, but how about finding a mentor? Any ideas? Hop onto Instagram, find search some hashtags and then slip into the DMs. I would honestly like say you're looking for a mentor in film and TV. I would watch a bunch of Australian film and TV, find out what you like, find out who directed it, and then I would honestly just find them on social media, tweet them. I'm sure like, you know, even if people don't have the time to be your mentor, they will often like pass you on to someone else who mentored them, or, you know, and I really am for like reaching out to people on social media. I think it's totally accessible and the best way to go about that.
I feel like the stigma like around networking is that people find it so gross, but like if you think about it as like you're just like trying to make friends with people who you like their work, you like their stuff. It's like that's not as gross a concept. And like I've had like a lot of success, I think, like connecting with people on Twitter mainly, I guess, as a writer, and like I've sent into some people's DMs saying that I've like really appreciated the work. They have no idea who I am, but like you kind of you can form like a little bit of a relationship, and that can go a long way later. Like you have no idea like what opportunities can come up later. But it's always it's nice to just let people know that you like their work, because, you know, like if that were to happen to you, like if that were to happen to me, like that would mean a lot, and I would remember that person as well, and that would, you know, lead to something potentially.
Yeah, totally. I often will cast my shows based on Instagram. Like that sounds so dodgy, but I had a drag show and I just found these incredible queens who I'd seen kind of in the clubs, and I'd seen them on Instagram, and then I just messaged them, and now we're like really close. And yeah, I think there's no harm in reaching out online, especially in a kind of friendship way as well, because at the end of the day, the industry is so small that everyone is friends with everyone. And, you know, there's no harm in getting started that way.
Yeah, also you have nothing to lose, only something to gain. Like maybe lose a follower.
Or you
worst
lose
comes
like
to worst.
being left on red. Like
lose some like internet.
All right, I want to now kind of transition to the reign of Miss Rona. I want to know what happened to you back in March when coronavirus began. How did your practice change? How did your industry change? Did you have cancelled shows? What happened in March?
Yeah, I'll go. I've had a bit of cancelled work. I am meant to be doing Melbourne Theatre Company's Slapbang Kiss production, which was going to have it's part of the education program. So it was going to have a rural tour around Victoria, and then also a sold out Melbourne season. But then all of that's just being cancelled, obviously, because of Miss Rona. And now we're filming the performance. So that's about 3 months of work down to 1 month. And I think I do it like, there's kind of a joke that I'm like the development actor. Like I do all these developments and I'm just waiting for them all to get funding so then I can actually be in the productions. But I have done a lot of developments like on Zoom, which has been great. Like companies being like, okay, so we acknowledge that Miss Rona is a thing, but how can we still like connect with the community and give like artists an opportunity to get their work read? but also just a lot of developments have been cancelled as well.
Yeah, totally. How do you find doing developments on Zoom? Is it difficult?
I think I'm just grateful that like the artist gets to hear their work, but if one person has a bit of dodgy network, it's a little bit harder, especially when you're reading scripts and they're really like, you're cutting each other off. You're like, but I think, yeah, it's also just like this weird connected disconnect. But that's also interesting in itself. And sometimes it might actually fuel the work. But a lot of the work, I should say, has been postponed, not cancelled. Like every single project I was just mentioning, they're all actually just postponed. So nothing's been cancelled, which is really great.
Yeah, totally. How about you, Pavan?
I, in some ways, haven't been affected at all because I quit my job on purpose at the end of last year before this all took off. So I was planning to take a gap year this year anyway to sort of focus on other pursuits. So I've quit Neighbours completely.
You nailed that timing.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, in a way. So like in a way, like I, set myself up for a year where I was just going to have kind of nothing to do, but also like try to pursue a whole bunch of different things. So a whole bunch of festival shows, was going to go to Edinburgh this like in August, like in a month or whatever, and do a full run for a month. That was, like a lot of sort of like online, sort of like something like a little production company with a small group of comedians in Melbourne. But a lot of those things like haven't been cancelled, but they've been like postponed. Like a lot of the, I guess like the momentum behind a lot of those things has just been stunted, which sucks. And I think like that's the thing that's the trick with Miss Rona is she's really like just cramping my style and just really sucking the momentum out of a lot of things that I guess I had going at the start of the year.
I'm interested in how, I guess, obviously how it affected you, and then how you kind of bounce back. If you did bounce back, how did you kind of pivot your practice? Pivot is such like a cliche word of the pandemic. It's like everyone's pivoting online.
Like a netball game.
Literally. How did you pivot?
I guess like pivoting online has probably been like where people have gone, taking your festival show and making it into a sitcom or whatever, or like starting a podcast. I think like podcast mics like sold out or whatever at the start of the pandemic. So
God, they did.
Yeah. So like, I mean, as a writer, it's like, I don't think it's been, and a comedian, it's like not been too hard, I think, to pivot.
Totally.
It's just I think just everything else around the coronavirus has kind of just made everything suck. Not being able to see your friends and all that sort of stuff, and the people who like inspire you and like motivate you and all that sort of stuff. Having your posse around you. That probably like is the hardest thing I think for myself to like create alone. Like that atmosphere is like very hard to create for yourself alone.
Yeah, totally. Personally, when it hit in March, I was almost in the same boat as you, Pavan. I had the festival show. I was like 2 weeks from starting it, and obviously 2 weeks out, I'd spent everything on the show.
Oh no!
So they got cancelled, and then I had a couple of seasons of that interstate, which also got cancelled. But I think I feel like it's quite important to for me, last year, at the end of last year, I did the same as you, Pavan. I quit, but I quit my day job to be like completely freelance. And then when the pandemic hit, I had to get a new job. So I'm now working as a cleaner and also doing like a bit of comedy on the side and stuff. But I think it's like important to like, not like destigmatize, but like it's completely fine to kind of put your work on pause, I think, when it's, going crazy out there. And then it took me about 2 months to kind of be like, okay, and like reset and think about where to go from there. And then from there, I was able to, I think a lot of people were like, put your work online. But for me, I was having a bit of anxiety around social media. So I completely got off social media, but I was still able to put my work online. I did I made a podcast for Melbourne Writers Festival, which is coming out, and I am writing Dyke Eye, which is like a lesbian version of Queer Eye, with my best mates for Signal Creative. And I've also been able to do some online content for Malthouse's Instagram and stuff. I think it's really important when people say you can put your work online to know that like you can do the Instagram and the TikTok and Facebook Live and all that kind of stuff, but there are totally other options out there as well. And I think in this time, I'm doing some work for Melbourne Fringe as well. I think companies that did have a lot of live venue shows are really looking for online content creators. A lot of the independent theatre sector and a few independent dance companies that I know of are really searching for people who have online content, and it's paid, and there are also a lot of grants coming out at the moment, which I understand there's totally like accessibility things with that. You know, you need to be a citizen and you need to be able to write a grant well, and it's a bit fucked, but the opportunities are there. So I would urge you all to like go looking for them, search your Facebook groups, and I'm sure like things will pop up there. We have a question from Alonzo. Hi, this is Alonzo. What's up, Alonzo? Master of Directing for Performance. I was thinking to use my final project as a way to present myself, international student from Mexico City, to some directors and industry people, but due to the circumstances, that's not going to be possible other than sending a video of that final project performance to people to watch on a screen. Can you think of another way to reach out or introduce myself or create a network? I would say if you have the ability to make your work free online, I would say that that's like a super powerful thing to do, especially for film work. I think platforms like, I mean, they're basic, but like YouTube and Vimeo, and if you can kind of create a little bit of hype around that, especially using the networks you already have, getting your friends to watch it, like subscribe situation, and then still, as we said before, still just cold emailing away and sending that content, I think is really important.
Also, like maybe like creating a website during this time, so you have like all your body of work in the one place, which is really, really great if you don't, like for any discipline, if you don't, like you don't need an agent all the time. You can just be like, here is all of my information, like my photos, my bio, my show reel, and like now we have so much downtime, you can really like invest in how to like make it look good and how, like have your own aesthetic, like read through it. I think that's also a really good, and it looks quite professional to be like, here's my website.
And also a website's really handy. I've just learned this in the past couple of weeks to for people to just like know how to contact you if they need to. Because if you're just on Facebook, like they might send you a message and you might never see it, if you know.
I spent like a year not reading my Facebook page messages just by accident because they're hidden. And I looked at, and I was like, well, that's 10 opportunities down the road. What? So now I have it like obviously on alert, but I still don't have a website, but I definitely should make one. But I think a website is a great idea. Just like getting your contact details online is so important.
Yeah.
Okay, we have a question from Anonymous. I'm studying printmaking at the moment. Do you think it is necessary for visual artists to have a social media presence? Thank you. What do you think?
I think it will get me really excited. Like if I am a sucker for following a lot of artists on Instagram, and I get really excited by them and like following their journey, and I feel like I like connect to them. And when you see them out, you're like, oh my God, I know so much about you. Like, and I really like your style. Like, or I've bought prints for my room. I think that like if it makes you anxious, then that's like completely fine. But you also don't have to have like your own appearance on there. You could just be about the work and like keep the professional and personal separate. But I know for like someone who would be like interested in that, I would think that would be a really great way.
I think an option as well, what I used to do, I used to have terrible anxiety around social media when I was doing my shows. So I used to pay them out of my like marketing budget just to do my Instagram and my Facebook when I had shows. And it was really helpful because they would post and like answer people's questions and promote me online and I wouldn't have to like see any of it. So I think there's a way to like be on social media, but also not be on social media.
And it's just a great way to find out about people. Or if you have like an opening, like the 5 days to go, or like all that stuff, like really getting like a following. And there are people that are really just genuinely interested about like the process, or you could have like tutorials and like, or like sharing that knowledge through the platform instead of it just being like a bit of a distance.
It also takes away accessibility barriers by putting your work online. It definitely assists you in creating a much wider audience. But in saying that, also you do you can, I've seen incredibly successful art. Like, does Banksy have a social media? I don't know. He probably has an Instagram. I have no idea. But like, you can 100% do whatever discipline you like in whatever form you like. I think though, if you were looking to be commercial and to kind of actively create a wider audience in a pandemic, I think social media is a great idea.
Yeah, or even a website, like you said, just so people know how to contact you.
I'm interested in what you are both doing to kind of upskill during quarantine, like, or if you were upskilling, or if you were like, maybe like you, Pavana, full of, you know, working full time anyway, or how are you spending your downtime, and are you spending it on your artistic practice?
You go first, bro.
Okay. I have like, I guess pivoting online, like just try to teach myself, I guess, like basic like editing stuff and like videography and all that sort of stuff to get sketches and all the like little like web series ideas that I've had to like start producing them myself. So like upskilling in that way. But I've also actually just really spent a lot of time relearning like screenwriting basics during this time. I think that's been really important for me. Just being sort of trapped in a machine, the machine that was neighbors for such a long time. You forget so much about like what like I was as a writer, or like what I liked, or what was like unique about the things that I liked that weren't neighbors. And so just, I guess, just spending this year, I think like finding my voice again has been kind of really helpful in this solitude, weirdly. I've just been at my desk most days, just writing with like no end in sight, but just to keep the practice up. I think you kind of have to just like, don't let it like just disappear, I suppose. The discipline that you've like dedicated your life to.
Yeah, totally. And Tali?
At first I was like, this is really hard because like I'm an actor and everything's so like collaborative. I'm like, you know, someone like tell me where to stand, someone dress me, someone like, you know, and I'm like, I don't know how to upskill. And then I was like, actually it's 2020, like there's so much I could be doing. So it took me a while to really get into my groove. But the one thing that I'm really doing is actually just focusing on my fitness. Because I think that like it also keeps me a bit sane, but something every time I'm in like a performance, I'm like, oh, I need to be like show fit, or I need to like keep that up. And it's also just great for your well-being. So I'm just definitely doing a lot of fitness based stuff. So then I'm not like jarred straight away when I'm like so out of breath. But I'm also part of like a theatre book club, which has been really helpful, and everyone's sharing different like scripts and reading things that are really outside my comfort zone that I hate, like sci-fi plays, but I'm really getting into it.
Zombie apocalypse.
Yeah. And also I have a rule where I only watch I watch 3 Australian TV shows and then I can watch one international. Lucky for me, Big Brother and Farm Wants Wife is Australian. But so I'm learning about like, I'm forcing myself just to know about the industry and know like, and watch credits and do accent training. And there's so much you could be doing, reading things that are outside your comfort zone, keeping up your fitness, listening to podcasts that are from actors or directors, like keeping your mind active and your body active, where even if that's not an outcome of a performance or an outcome of like a subject, it's just upskilling. And I was actually quite excited by the challenge. Be like, okay, like Miss Rona won't make me lose my passion. And
Yeah, totally. I am personally spending a lot of time doing self I was going to call it self-care, but I feel like self-care has been taken over by like
Face
mimosas,
masks.
bubble baths. Yeah. So I'm going to say I've been doing a lot of self-preservation in terms of also like exercising, trying to see my psych a lot, and making sure I'm healthy and able to go once Corona lifts, if it does. And then I've also been trying to upskill in areas that I haven't previously had skills in. So I'm writing this musical under a commission, and I know that once it gets put on stage, they will hire a musical director, and I would like to be in a paid role. So I am upskilling, learning music software. I am doing a few more grades of piano, and really kind of making sure I have that skill ready to go. So when they're looking, I'm like, I am here, pay me, I'm ready. And similarly with my comedy, I guess I'm just making a lot of content online that will be released later in the year, and just trying to kind of get a handle on that. All right, we have another question. Hello, third-year actor here. What's up? I have two questions. Firstly, how do you know which agency is right for you? And secondly, are there any tips for making a good show reel? Take it away, Tali.
Okay, so I think when I first graduated, like I was quite fortunate. I got 8 agents' offers, and I think I got a sense straight away who was like a really good fit for me, because you just got to remember that you're also like interviewing them, and you're not just being like, when you're in third, you're like, oh my God, sign me. I'm available all the time. I'm free. Like, I'll do whatever you want. Like, I'll do this. And it's actually like, okay, but what are you also going to be doing for me? And it's actually like dating. It's like, okay, like you meet up and you're like, okay, I think this is a good fit, or I think that we have good communication, good chemistry. And I think it's really important to be like, how are they a good fit for me also? And if you do have one offer and they're not a good fit, does not mean that you have to sign with them at all. But I think one thing that is really good to do is look at all the agents' books or their rosters on the website and be like, who looks like me? Who would I be competing with? How many people do they have in my, as VC love to call it, typecast? So I'm like, okay, do they have people that have my features, my age, my ethnicity? And if not, that's going to be great, because I'm going to be the one they're going to be submitting for all those jobs. And because sometimes agents only have, you can only submit like 3 of their actors for one role. So if you're competing with a lot of people that are like you, it's just like, it's good to be like a point of difference for the agency. And also making a good show reel. Like, you do get one in VCA, but talking to a lot of casting directors, some of them just prefer an actual self-tape. It's stripped back, it's really raw, it's authentic. You don't need, like, you can get quite hidden by like all the background and the production value. And it's like, actually, like, I just want to see your face and how much you are connected, and strip it back, because that's what an audition is going to be like anyway.
And they cast you off self-tapes. They don't cast 100%. You off other TV shows. So
yeah, but even just like I'm so nitpicky. I'm like, okay, like if I have 2, like just doing self-tapes, like how can I show my difference? Like, maybe I'll like literally have my hair up in one, head down in one. Like, if I only have 2 minutes, how can I show you everything that I can without you knowing that I'm trying really hard? So I think like if you are doing, like, start off with, if like for me, like I do a lot of comedy or like Indigenous broken English, country gal. Like, so those are the 2 things that I would definitely be having in my show reel. So I'm like, this is like what I know that I'm going to be seen for.
Yeah, I think you're 100% spot on with all that, especially the dating stuff, making sure, I mean, you're choosing them as much as they are choosing you. From the perspective of maybe you aren't able to go on the dates because it's a pandemic and you don't have those in-person meetings. I think for me, I would look through agent books, most of which are open, some are closed, but screw them. And I would go, okay, I love those people. I love the shows that they're in. I think they're doing really great work, and they're all signed to this one agency. So I think that agency might be good for me. And I also think with your show reel, you want something that like as Tully said, really represents the roles you want. So try and think about your dream role and be realistic about it. Like, you know, not everyone is going to, you know, be Elle Woods. So I think, what is your dream Australian role? And then you often just like, in this pandemic, like I would just be making my own show reel. So I would find my dream Australian role. I would find 40 seconds of script from that, and I would make my own self-tape. Make sure you have nice natural lighting or something that's quite bright, and going from there.
Yeah.
The anonymous.
Real quick, my agent actually told me to write my own scene for it, because they were like, we follow you on Instagram and we see that you're really funny, so we actually want you to write your own like 1 minute scene, because we feel like you don't have any comedy in your show reel. And then I just wrote something, and
That's so good.
I think I took it down now though. Don't look.
I once in an audition wrote a scene, because they were like, bring in anything, and just pretend it was from Parks and Recreation. I pretended it was. Absolutely wasn't. At the time I hadn't even.
They don't know.
Recreation. And they're like, oh, what a great script. So just, you know, do you. If nothing fits, make something yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, another question. As a recent graduate, it feels like I'm stepping into an industry that is lacking in resources and pathways for long-term artistic practice without pivoting and taking administrative producing roles in organizations. For Lou, how do you see yourself sustaining your arts career in the longer term? Have you got a plan, or are you just taking it play by play? I think this industry has always been incredibly hard. And I think, pandemic or not, you were never guaranteed a career here. It's so hard to make it. And I have like worked my butt off for 3 years.
Yeah.
I spent 2 months being freelance, and then I went back to working. So I think you should never enter the industry knowing that you will have a sustainable long-term career. I am fully able to be like, you know what, I might have to be working a side job for a very long time. And for me, I graduated when I was 20, I'm 24 now, and I have kind of given myself, which I keep extending, but I've been like, okay, maybe when I'm 30, I might go back to uni, I might do a teaching degree, something like that. But I think if you don't go for it, then you will never know if you are able to make it. I think as well, for me, I have like, I love a plan. I love a to-do list. I love all that kind of stuff. So, but it's constantly changing. So when I left uni, I was like, I want to be in New York in 2 years, and I want to headline this festival and this festival and this festival. And obviously that was insane, but I like to have a plan that changes all the time. So at the start of last year, my plan was to write a musical, and right now I have now been commissioned to finish that musical, and it's had its first reading at Arts Centre and that kind of thing. So I think making a realistic plan is really important, and my next step is to get that musical on. So that's kind of my plan at the moment, but I have to take it play by play. If I'm not flexible, I drown straight away. Like, obviously, like I lost a lot of money in the comedy festival, like putting on my shows and stuff. And like, I had to like get a different job straight away. I'm totally happy being flexible though, because I think that's the only way to survive. And I sometimes feel like I'm just treading water all the time. But I was talking to Tali last night, and we were saying like, actually, like, this industry is very much like the last one standing. So if you really want it, and I'm not talking like I want it, I'm talking like you really want it and you will do whatever the fuck it takes to get there, you will be standing at the end somehow or another. I didn't get a lot of opportunities when I finished, and I made my own work. I've made 5 like shows to date in 3.5 years that I've written myself, produced myself, acted in myself, like kind of done everything for. And I'm definitely not like successful, especially in terms of these 2 incredible people, but I think that like other people would like see, you know, me as some kind of success. And I think it's just important about just like going for it. You know, if your path is blocked, you turning and going the other way, like you just have to like keep knocking the doors down until you get somewhere. I know that was really like waffly and like those random inspiration videos you see on YouTube, but I'm like, honestly, if you want it bad enough, you will get there. You will make it work.
Yeah.
I hope that answered that question. Okay, how do you deal with the negative comparisons? I cry. No, in your head, if you're comparing yourself to other friends who are not working in arts and are working in corporate structures, e.g. finance, and seeing them be able to afford houses, etc., or does that not bother you, and why not? I feel like incredibly exasperated by the pandemic.
That's a brutal question.
I think for me, I will compare myself to people in the arts who are successful and can buy houses. I'll be like, fuck you, Margot Robbie. Like, instead of comparing. And I don't know, I think that's always been ingrained in me. I'm not sure why. I think I never aspired to have a corporate job and have that life, so that I don't really find a negative comparison there. But I absolutely feel you on the like jealousy, negative comparisons to other people. I was talking to my psych and she was like, look, the more time you focus on the other people, the worse you are going to become. So you need to focus that energy on yourself, because every little minute you were like comparing yourself to someone else is time you were losing on helping yourself.
Yeah. And it's also seeing the other people as competition. It's like, actually, like, if someone is getting like a role that I didn't even audition for, that I'm not even like in the same realm of like ethnicity or age or gender or anything, I'm like that is really exciting for that person. And seeing other people's success and just changing that mindset and be like, actually, that's a really good opportunity for them, and that's really great. But it's so hard. I don't have any friends that are not artists. So, but I just have to remember, like, because I had that, I was like, oh my God, I'm 25 and I'm going to do this, like, blah, blah, blah. But it's also like, I've just got to remember why I'm in this industry. And it's because of my love, my passion. And I just love it so much. And the thought of having like a normal kind of job just makes me like so sad. So I understand what the like, I'm going into the industry, I already knew that it wasn't like stable, but that's why I'm just looking for a rich partner.
Sugar mummies and daddies come out.
Through inquire within.
Something that I do that I shouldn't is I like sort of lop everyone in my life and all their successes together as if they were one person, but they're not. Like, you know, it's like this person, like a friend has got like a writing gig on this comedy show, this person's like acting in this comedy show, but like I think about them as like having like the same thing, but like actually there's many people who are like having tiny successes. And like that's very similar to me as well. And I think just like acknowledging that like success isn't like it's like a spectrum, I suppose, or whatever.
Yeah, and your own definition.
And yeah, it's the stories that you tell yourself. And I think if you just try and focus as much as you can on like the great things that you've done, and also like instead of negatively comparing yourself to people, like just like celebrating other people is probably like a better way to deal with that sort of stuff. And just like that's I think just,
there is room for everyone.
Yeah,
I think. Sorry, go on.
And also just like delude yourself a little bit into thinking that you'll get rich one day and then you will be able to afford all those things as well. Like there's no harm in that sort of stuff. I think there are things that you can do. Like you can create like psychological like constructs for yourself to like indulge fantasies to just keep you motivated and like help you like sustain momentum. Like you're not lying to yourself. You have to do what you can do in order to like not just like focus on negative shit and like become bad and bad at what you do as a result.
Yeah.
Also, like if you want a naughty way of dealing with it, like everyone has a bad review, like Google that.
Totally.
Don't love everybody.
I live for the haters.
The haters make me famous.
All right. I want to talk about, just before we answer that last question, I think it's pretty important now with obviously 2020 has been crazy, not only with the pandemic but with the Black Lives Matter movement and obviously like the bushfires at the start of the year and a lot of other things. I think right now a lot of people are maybe not quitting but like taking some time off, doing something else. And I wanted to ask, like, for you two who are both still highly invested and working on your art, why do you make art? Which is an incredibly loaded question, but have you found that yet? Or yeah.
Yeah, I make art because I don't want to buy a house. No, I make art because I think it's really important for my community, like the queer community, also the First Nation community. Like having that representation is like representation and visibility is everything, and it really, like, not seeing yourself in media is one of the most belittling things that you can actually experience, being like, I don't, oh my God, I'm crying, that I don't like feel like the world sees me or accepts me, or like I don't exist. So making work that has that is so important to me, so important, it's like ingrained in me. And I think that kind of answers the question. It's so important to me that I think that the house and the other people's success, like it just goes out because this is like the core of my like passion. And that's really why I make work. Also because I'm a massive show off. When everyone laughs at me, I'm like, love. But also it's like the ongoing, like, just, I remember seeing a performance when I was like so young, and that like, I still think about that, and that has had such an impact on my life. And that person doesn't know. And yeah, I think it's just a really touching thing. Also just getting everyone in the theatre and everyone's silent. No one is ever going to be in that same position again where you're all in a room watching this thing and then you go off with your lives. Like, that's so beautiful. Yeah.
Fuck, that's so good, Tels.
For me, I just like really respect the craft of screenwriting like heaps, and I just like would love, like, the idea that I might be able to contribute to it in some way. It just like feels nice. Feels like a nice way to spend a life. Also, I forgot what I was going to say. But it's fun. It's just a fun job, and it's cool.
Totally. Well, I think you're both incredible at what you do, and it's so like kind of touching to hear like what drives you. I think it's super important. Okay, we have one more Q&A. Do you have any advice on accessing film and TV as a freelance / through an agent if your training / credits are more established in stage work?
What from what perspective?
From what perspective? Are you a performer, or do you want to hit this one first, Pavan, and then maybe they will reply, and then...
Cool, yeah. Okay, accessing FTV as freelance. If you're more rooted in stage work. I guess just like maybe like from comedy, like live comedy, from that perspective, you get your name out there so much more, and a lot of people who work in live comedy in TV also, a lot of people who work in comedy in TV also do live comedy. So like, I think because the industry is so small, I think like a lot of people who do work, people work in both. So you're kind of just meeting, like you by doing the live stuff, you just meet people who also work in film and television. So like you're not, it's like you're just like the pathway is like quite close.
You're not as disconnected as it feels, or it's more connected.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, totally. So as approaching the question for a performer POV, I think that sums it up. I think the industries are both like super linked. Everyone has dabbled in each. I think accessing film and TV stage, I think it's, to be honest, it's quite a natural progression. A lot of people start in stage and live theatre and then go to film and TV because it's where the money is.
True. Yeah, I'm still struggling. Like I've done maybe like 4 or 5 productions since graduating, and I really want to get into film and TV, like a lot. And I still haven't got a film credit yet, and I'm like frustrated by it. But it's just about like the people that I am inviting when I do have theatre shows is the casting directors of the shows that I want to be in, like the ABC comedy stuff. But it's really hard. I find for myself, there's a big disconnect. Like I feel like I've networked really well in the theatre industry. Like, but then like it's a whole new world, like no one knows who you are, or like, so I feel like it is a bit of a challenge, but I do think that when you first break in, you get your first credit, like then like the whole door opens, because they can be like, okay, we can trust you, we like, you've worked with someone before. But that first one, like, I'm not gonna lie, is quite hard, which is why it's good to just, you know, watch Australian content, make sure you know about the industry you're going into, and find out who's casting what, and even just like do a tape from the show that they made and be like, this is my perspective if you wanted to see it. Like, be proactive is like the biggest advice you could get, but it's hard.
I'm gonna just do like a complete Lou Wall special and just write myself into lead role of the web series I'm writing. Like, fuck it, like, why not?
Also, FTV people might not like to hear this, but from my experience working at Neighbours, a lot of the writers there are quite frustrated by the industry, because there are some TV shows in the landscape that aren't respected, i.e. Neighbours, by the wider industry, and there's actually like more prestige in theatre work. And so like a lot of like, you know, TV shows that like when they need to like stack their writers' rooms with writers, will kind of look to theatre first, weirdly. And so it's actually like, it's like in your favor to do something that's considered to be more prestigious and cool and whatever.
There you go. Okay. I think that kind of, I adore that Neighbours finds theatre prestigious. That makes my heart sing.
Because everyone feels like, cast me in Neighbours.
We're all just trying to get into Neighbours. That brings us to the end of our little webinar situation. I just want to say thank you everyone who came and listened. Thank you so much for writing in your questions. They were amazing. And from us three, we wish you all the best of luck in this like crazy time. You can do it. You can get through it. If you really want this, it'll happen for you. It is hard, but this industry has always been hard. It's just another hurdle that you have to get over. If I am happy for you to just slip into my DMs if you have any further questions. I'll pop my email here in the chat, slip into Tali's DMs. Don't ask Pavan for a role on Neighbours. Or do. Thank you so much. Do you guys have any final words?
I just put my email in as well.
Litmus.
Oh, cool. You can do that? Okay. I'll do that too.
Puts in a fake email.
It's just on the, someone just asked where it's at. It's in the chat.
In the chat on the Zoom webinar. Beautiful. They're all there.
But it does disappear when this goes. So quick copy and paste.
Quick. We're going to leave.
3, 2, 1, bye.
All right. Thank you so much, everyone. Have a good day.
Thank you.